AI is changing how we work, how we think, how we interact with each other.
What if I told you that the future of AI isn't about replacing humans? It's about making us more human. Guest has spent 8 years proving exactly that. Meet Stephanie Sylvestre, the co-founder and chief visionary officer of Avatar, who believes that AI should be trained like an employee, not deployed like software. From her early days breaking barriers in corporate America to her current role as a Harvard Fellow developing frameworks for economic empowerment, Stephanie has consistently been ahead of the curve, not just in technology, but in understanding how technology should serve humanity. She's the woman who has led flawless digital transformation during COVID-19, who, who has spent 9 years as an honorary consult building international bridges, and who volunteers her weekends building homes with Habitat for Humanity. But what makes her truly unique is her revolutionary approach to AI. Instead of asking, how can AI do this faster? She asks, how can AI help people become the best version of themselves? In a world where AI anxiety is at all-time high, Stephanie offers something different. Hope, practical solutions, and a roadmap for making AI work for everyone, not just the tech elite. Today, we're diving into her philosophy of the human-in-the-loop AI, her journey from Miami's corporate corridors to Harvard's halls, and why she believes the most powerful force in the age of AI is still the human mind. This conversation is about technology, yes, but more importantly, it's about leadership, community, and the future we're building together. So let's get started. Are you wasting hours every week on clunky systems and manual processes just because every consultant's told you enterprise solutions cost tens of thousands of dollars? That's a lie, and it's killing your business. If you're a small town entrepreneur, a growing business owner, or a nonprofit, you already feel the pressure. Every hour wasted on spreadsheets or duct tape apps is an hour stolen from actually growing your business. Here's the truth. You don't need a massive budget to compete with an enterprise level. I'm Cody, the weird Canadian, and I've spent over a decade building multi-billion-dollar systems for government and Fortune 500 companies. Now I bring that same expertise to entrepreneurs like you with scalable websites, custom applications, and smart automations, all built on a shoestring. My process is simple. I analyze your business to see where you're bleeding time and money. I strategize the high impact solutions for your budget. I execute systems that scale with you. And I optimize so you keep on growing without adding chaos. And on top of that, I'm there with you to explain every process and how it works and why it works for you. Now imagine having enterprise grade systems that save you hours a week, let you compete with the bigger players, and give you confidence knowing your business runs smoothly, even while you sleep. That's the freedom you've been chasing. Stop waiting, start scaling. Book your strategy consultation today, and let's build the business systems you deserve. Looking forward to working with you, and let's stay weird. So, Stephanie, you've said that AI is more than a social, or more of a social construct than a piece of software.
Yeah.
It's not something most people expect to hear from an AI company founder. What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that? I mean, AI is changing how we work, how we think, how we interact with each other. It's kind of like when Google just started. Google was a social construct. Back then, we didn't think about it as that, but it was. And AI is Google magnified 1,000 times. So I'll give an example, right? So right now we're testing this AI agent that's a recruiter buddy. Right now, everybody hates searching for a job, filtering candidates for a job. Um, it just it's just a mess, right? Because people are using AI to write customize their resume so they can apply for like 100 jobs, even though they might not be nearly qualified. Then the poor recruiters have to filter through all of those jobs to find a gem, and just human nature. You get tired and so you might inadvertently leave gems on the table. That's a social construct. So we have to change how we filter people. And so my thing is, we're testing a new way of filtering people. Have the AI do the first level screen. You know, you give the AI 4 or 5 questions, have them screen if they answer the questions appropriately, give them a link to schedule an interview and apply. If they didn't answer the questions appropriately, give them instantaneous feedback and an opportunity to appeal the decision. That filters down. Let's say I applied for a job. I had a job opening, and in 2 days I had like 100 people, and it
Yeah.
was so overwhelming. I had to shut it down, and I parsed through, and we got like okay candidates, but they weren't really aligned with what we were trying to do. And the people that we hired, they've all quit. And so this time around, we're going to be doing hiring again, and we're using the AI. We're letting AI filter out the people so that I have the time to spend deep dive on the 10 or 15 shortlist people. And so that's such a social construct. Like the way that you apply for jobs eventually will be, you first have to interview with AI, you have to convince the AI that it makes sense. And of course, the AI needs to be configured in a way that it's not just doing keyword search, keyword matching, or looking for
It needs to be aligned to your brand and your message and what people want out of working for your company.
exactly not these. Well, 3 to 5 years if they have 5.5 years they're out. No, it's what's your experience with this thing. So like or the AI, the recruiter buddy that we're testing is configured to say we're looking for people that do AI and SaaS. Well, actually, it's not even configured. It's just like we're looking for AI. Looking for somebody to help us grow our sales, and it knows that we're managed AI as a service. So it says, "Do you have experience selling AI, or do you have experience selling SaaS?" Because either one of those work. But if your experience is selling toilet paper, maybe not this time around. And so it can figure that out by itself. I don't have to spend all this time giving what's not. And so it's refreshing to go through the process and then to have something say to you, this is why you did not make the cut. But if you really believe we're wrong, so a little bit of humility in there, um, then here, send the 3 reasons why you should get this job, your resume and your LinkedIn profile. So as like a job applicant, I don't have to worry about creating a resume and filling out a long arduous form until I say, yeah, I like what they have to say, and they say, yeah, you might be a fit. I mean, that's like radically changing how we behave, how we do things, and that's what I say about AI being a social construct, not just a
Okay.
piece of software.
Yeah, and I like that you added in at the end that if you really wanted the, like if you really feel fit for it, because that paper toilet salesman could be fit for SaaS, and he's just looking to get that right foot in the door, right? It's nice that you offer that as a contingency. Um, but
I,
that instant gratification also will go a long way with what's it called,
but
the relationships between businesses and companies and employees.
yeah, exactly. Brand quality, the fact that somebody took the time to just not just drop you in a black box and say goodbye. And then because companies are using these tools, what they're doing is they're not getting the best candidates, and because they're not getting the best candidates, their hiring costs are going up. Because you might be like, oh, I mean, just human nature. If you've been trying to hire for a position for 6 months and you just can't find somebody, what will you do? Eventually, you're just gonna be like, okay, I'll IQS and I'll take the next best thing. And then the next best thing comes in, and then you're hemming and hawing. And sometimes the next best thing works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But if it doesn't work out, then now you're left with having this person, sorry, not product, this person that is not a fit. And then now you've hired somebody, and because you're a human being, you don't just want to fire them. Now you have to spend all this time and energy trying to get them to fit into your organization, and you torture them for 6 months because they know that they're not a fit. You know they're not a fit, but nobody wants to say anything. So we both torture each other, and in the process erode their self-confidence. So the next job that they go looking for, they don't feel maybe, and it was all that stuff gets moved out the place because the person goes through the interview, says, no, I don't want to work with you. I don't like how you answer these questions. Or yeah, like I want to work with you. I'm excited. Let me go polish up my resume based on what you told me. So now when I come to meet with you in person, I've already been prepped.
Yeah. It's funny because it talks to my experience with my last position, because I was looking for a job that I thought was like I was getting into fintech.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is great. I'm gonna learn so much and everything, and I get in there and it's like it's worse than my government job. Like it's a sales pace. It's like, oh, I thought this was gonna be better, and it's not. And it didn't align with what I wanted, so I left within the year, and I understand that that's a high hiring cost on the company. Thankfully, they're fintech and they have a lot of money for that, but a smaller company doesn't have that level of resources.
Exactly. So that's kind of like a very practical example of what is a social construct. It's also a social construct from the perspective of let's like talk about something that everybody talks about that's like negative about AI. So in a few minutes you can create so much AI slug that nobody knows what's true and what's not. So, what does that mean? If I can't tell if you're a real human being, if I can't tell what I hear about you is accurate or not, how am I going to solve that problem? Well, I'm going to solve that problem in two ways. I'm going to push for one-on-one meetings with you where I can see you and assess whether or not those things are accurate. And two, I'm going to spend more time in your space physically because I will only know how to assess that who somebody is if I spend human to human time. And because the AI is reducing the amount of time it takes to do stuff and also introducing uncertainty, so I can't just believe everything I read because I don't know what's true and what's not. I have to go meet the person, and the more I'm so that means now that I have to meet people, and I am predicting that AI will help us improve our person to person interaction, increase it. And back in the day, remember when your parents would go over um, to each other's house on a Friday evening and have dinner and get to know each other. So when somebody says something about the person, you'd be like, "What? That's no. Do,
Yeah.
you're not telling me the whole story. What else are you missing out?" Because people that will have to
I,
come back because that's the only way I'm
I've
going to know you.
started even when I've started hearing things about other people in media. If I hear it from somebody else's mouth, I'm like, I instantly don't trust it. It's like, unless it comes from that person's mouth, then I don't care. And now it can come from that person's mouth, which is even scarier.
Well, then because I can dub and I can make a video that makes it look like you said something when you did not. And so I need to build my brand reputation by interacting with humans. The other people need to build their brand reputation by interacting with humans. So there's going to be a push for more people to people interaction. And then we'll be like, do you know this person? Do you know Bob? Yeah, Bob is in the same group as my sister, and blah, 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 blah. That's, we're going to go back to, that's how we
You think
validate and verify people.
humans will be the validation mechanism to the AI matrix? That's an
Yeah.
interesting concept. That is a very, because the entire digital age is the entire opposite. to go back to our fundamental roots of word of mouth is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Wow,
I,
you've just given me a whole new thought interest piece that I got to look into now. So I'm going to go on to a little bit more of training your AIs like an employee. Can you
okay.
walk us what that actually looks like in practice?
So when you think about bringing on a new employee, what's the first thing you do? If you're super organized, you create this binder of all the company protocols, all the rules and procedures, all the information for the department that the employee is going to start. And it might be this binder this big, and you're fully organized and all that. And then you schedule meetings with everybody that you think that employee should be meeting for the first week or two. And then that employee is beyond overwhelmed, does not know what to do. And it does not matter the level position that you brought them in, it's still overwhelming. In fact, I feel like the more senior the position, the more overwhelming it is. And so, okay, what if you gave the AI all that information, right? The AI is not going to get overwhelmed. And then what if you started introducing the AI to these first concern centric circle of people? AI is pretty cool about that as well. And then you then you're able to have the AI use your information. You can test its ability to do its job well, and then once you're giving it some coaching and feedback, just like how you give the human, then when it's ready, you unveil the AI at staff meeting, right? Because that's what you do. You unveil the new employee at the staff meeting, and then a few months, maybe another month later or something, depending on the cadence of your all staff, you introduce the employee to the all staff meeting, and so you introduce the AI to the all staff that way. So,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. Ask the question.
How do you get in terms of the employees to buy in, like the real human employees to start using the avatar? Like, how do you get that buy-in?
So, first of all, we have this thing called an AI opportunity mapping session, and 75% of that meeting is just talking about people and their emotions. And I I've done this enough, and like I so now when I do it, I tell the CEOs, I was like, just when you start getting impatient with me, that's when I'm gonna switch to talking to AI. Until then, I'm not gonna be talking about AI. But I will be talking about AI, but not talking about AI. So we talk about agile methodology, because depending on the organization, they might be taken aback by how we work, right? So we have jam sessions. I sit with you, and you're telling me what you're trying to do, and I'm configuring the AI, and I'm like, try it now. And then you go, oh no, and it's like, try it. Okay, let me do this. Try it now. And so that could make that some people that could be off put into them, like she doesn't know what she's doing. And it's like, no, I do know what I'm doing, but AI, me by myself or you by yourself, is not going to maximize the AI. The together is how we maximize the AI. And that's where that happens, right? So we have to explain agile methodology, short sprints. We got to get this stuff out really quickly, get feedback, adjust, and tweak. And once we do that, like people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then once we have a session, they're like, oh my God, this is so much fun and so much easier. And then our claim of impact from day one is not some marketing thing that we're doing, it's actually real. And then secondly, what we do is we do people's emotional reaction to AI. So because it's a social construct, it's going to change your life. We have to stop and acknowledge that that's going to happen, and then say, how is that going to change your life? What emotions are coming up? And in that exercise, what you do is you create the space, a safe space where employees can express their fears, their concerns, their expectations, their excitement, because nothing kills an AI project faster than somebody that's uber excited about AI and has unrealistic expectations. That is worse than having somebody that says, I don't believe in this thing.
I can't believe how many tokens I've spent on unrealistic things that I've tried to
It's
build with AI so far. It's ridiculous.
exactly. So it's a social construct. It's just started. It's kind of like think back to the Renaissance and Reformation when Max Weber was trying to convince the peasants that they should learn how to read and write. And that was a 500-year odyssey, right? that we're at the phase of where Max Weber would say, "This is good for you. This is good
Mhm.
for your children," and the church is going, "No, no, not good." And whatever the church, because the church knew once they learned how to read and write, they would realize how they were being exploited and taken advantage of. And true to form, that's what eventually happened. Yeah.
Um, can we get a little bit into the beginning years? You spent a lot of your years in corporate America before founding Avatar Buddy.
Mhm.
Uh, what was the moment you realized that something needed to be done differently?
So Avatar Buddy started because of a mistake, which is like literally, it was a mistake.
Okay.
I was I was at dinner with a friend, and we were talking about our favorite thing that we like to talk about. How do we solve the world problems? And we got onto mentoring and the fact that it's so hard to find a good mentor, and so many people don't appreciate mentorship, and that even when you appreciate it, it's hard, right? Because you have to you have to have the right chemistry. You don't have the right chemistry, you could have like the most successful, amazing person, and the chemistry doesn't mix. They're not going to be a good mentor. And I thought she said, "Why don't you create a digital mentor?" I was like, "Why not? Like, let's create a digital mentor. We absolutely can create a digital mentor." I've spent my years solving using tech to solve business problems. Why not use my years to solve social problem? And that's how it started. And that was back in 2016. The technology didn't exist. Almost everyone I spoke to said it was ridiculous. I did not possible. I had one friend, a Canadian,
Mhm.
Carmen Wenkoff. He sat and he listened to me for an hour and a half, explain what I wanted to do, and he said, "Yep, I think it can be done." And he continues to be a great supporter today. And he is like my live-in avatar buddy, because you can't just have digital mentors. You have to have human mentors to complement the digital mentors. But but he gave me the encouragement, and every time I would get a little despondent about the journey, I would go talk to him, and he would fill my courage vase up again, and I would keep going. And the more that happened, the more I became resolved that if you had somebody that would encourage you along, you would realize your dream. But if you don't have somebody to encourage you along, I mean, and he wasn't being Pollyanna. He was like, "Well, you got to think about this. You have to think about this, and here's how this might not work, and so forth." So it was practical, pragmatic support while
Yeah.
encouraging me on, right? And I think that when you have that kind of support in a human, it's incredible. And there's studies that show that people overcome crazy, ridiculous stuff because they have one loving adult in their life that believes in them more than they believe in themselves. I try to help everybody. Like somebody says, "Hey, like this young man." This is recently. This young man comes on and he's like, "Hey, can I get some advice?" I'm like, "Sure. Here's my calendar." And then he's asking me for. I was like, "You want me to tell you how you can become my competitor and beat me?" It's just, I said, "Because that's what you're asking for." And he's like, "I was like, but that's okay. I'll help you out."
Mhm. You don't know what's going to happen. They could come up with something completely different along their path that could serve you later in the future. These are the things that people don't understand is everybody can try and walk your path, but you've already walked it. You've paved it. You
Yeah,
know it. Anybody following it isn't going to be able to follow that exact path because it's
exactly.
you. It's uniquely you.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Um, So I'm going to go on to a little bit more of training your AIs like an employee. Can you
Okay.
walk us what that actually looks like in practice?
So when you think about bringing on a new employee, what's the first thing you do? If you're super organized, you create this binder of all the company protocols, all the rules and procedures, all the information for the department that the employee is going to start. And it might be this binder this big, and you're fully organized and all that. And then you schedule meetings with everybody that you think that employee should be meeting for the first week or two. And then that employee is beyond overwhelmed, does not know what to do. And it does not matter the level position that you brought them in. It's still overwhelming. In fact, I feel like the more senior the position, the more overwhelming it is. And so, okay, what if you gave the AI all that information, right? The AI is not going to get overwhelmed. And then what if you started introducing the AI to these first concern centric circle of people? AI is pretty cool about that as well. And then you then you're able to have the AI use your information. You can test its ability to do its job well. And then once you're giving it some coaching and feedback, just like how you gave the human, then when it's ready, you unveil the AI at staff meeting, right? Because that's what you do. You unveil the new employee at the staff meeting, and then a few months, maybe another month later or something, depending on the cadence of your all staff, you introduce the employee to the all staff meeting, and so you introduce the AI to the all staff that way.
And,
So,
sorry,
mhm.
go ahead.
Go
Uh,
ahead. Ask your question.
how do you get in terms of the employees to buy it, like the real human employees to start using the avatar buddy? How do you get that buy-in?
So, first of all, we have this thing called an AI opportunity mapping session, and 75% of that meeting is just talking about people and their emotions. And I I've done this enough, and like I so now when I do it, I tell the CEOs, I was like, just when you start getting impatient with me, that's when I'm going to switch to talking to AI. Until then, I'm not going to be talking about AI, but I will be talking about AI, but not talking about AI. So we talk about agile methodology, because depending on the organization, they might be taken aback by how we work, right? So we have jam sessions. I sit with you, and you're telling me what you're trying to do, and I'm configuring the AI, and I'm like, try it now. And then you go, oh no, and it's like, try it. Okay, let me do this. Try it now. And so that could make that some people that could be off put into them, like she doesn't know what she's doing. And it's like, no, I do know what I'm doing, but AI, me by myself or you by yourself is not going to maximize the AI. The together is how we maximize the AI. And that's where that happens, right? So we have to explain agile methodology, short sprints. We got to get this stuff out really quickly, get feedback, adjust, and tweak. And once we do that, like people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then once we have a session, they're like, oh my God, this is so much fun and so much easier. And then our claim of impact from day one is not some marketing thing that we're doing, it's actually real. And then secondly, what we do is we do people's emotional reaction to AI. So because it's a social construct, it's going to change your life. We have to stop and acknowledge that that's going to happen, and then say, how is that going to change your life? What emotions are coming up? And in that exercise, what you do is you create the space, a safe space where employees can express their fears, their concerns, their expectations, their excitement, because nothing kills an AI project faster than somebody that's uber excited about AI and has unrealistic expectations. That is worse than having somebody that says, I don't believe in this thing.
I can't believe how many tokens I've spent on unrealistic things that I've tried to
It's,
build with AI so far. It's ridiculous.
exactly. So it's a social construct. It's just starting. It's kind of like think back to the Renaissance and Reformation when Max Weber was trying to convince the peasants that they should learn how to read and write. And that was a 500-year odyssey, right? That we're at the phase of where Max Weber would say, "This is good for you. This is good for your children," and the church is going, "No, not good." And whatever the church, because the church knew once they learned how to read and write, they would realize how they were being exploited and taken advantage of. And true to form, that's what eventually happened. So
It's funny because this is what I've been talking about at scale for politics, but please continue. Yeah.
so I mean, well, and so what we have when we do that is we just have like this amazing opening. And what I find is what I'm looking for in those sessions is who's the center of informal power, and are they on board or not? Because those are the people I need to spend my time with. Not that I'm dismissing the other people, but those are the people that are going to make or break this implementation. And I need to make sure that I've enrolled them onto what I'm trying to do, because that's how the implementation becomes successful. And then alignment. So usually it's like a senior manager, a member of the senior team is saying, Stephanie, I want this AI team come implement it. And here are the problems. And they confidently rattle off the problems. And then we set the problems in front of the frontline people and the people actually doing the work. And it's not. And by the way, that's an issue not just for AI. That's an issue for any kind of implementation you're doing. And so we then have to very nicely go back and forth till we get an alignment of what are the issues. Now, once we understand what the issues are, I like to say, let's co-dream. Like, let's go to utopia for a moment. What happens if all these problems go away? How does your life look? How does the business work? What efficiencies do you get rid of? How do you become more profitable? How do you increase revenue? And through that is how we determine what is the roadmap. And then we take all that information, we create a little roadmap for them, and then we help them implement. And by doing that, what we do is we've addressed the naysayers. And we're not trying to convince them to become yes men and women. We just want to know who's going to be naysayers so that we can proactively interact with them and be respectful and acknowledge their concerns and their and so forth. And most of the time, the concerns are because they don't understand what it is they're doing, or I'm so sorry, not what they're doing, but what is it that the AI is doing and how is it doing. And so I use very simple analogies. I like to do this. I have like this little routine where I talk about who's been born before 1956, and everybody's like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, if you've not been born before 1956, AI is older than you." And then they're like, what? And so that already like changes the energy in the room. And then I go with who who knows what happened in 1964 as it relates to AI. And then you get some wild guesses. And then I tell him about Eliza. And then I talk about, AI continued evolving, but it wasn't until the 1980s that Geoffrey Hinton, another Canadian, that figured out that if you make the AI, the computers work the way the humans brain work, neural networks, that you can make it do like these amazing things, right? But then he couldn't train it because we didn't have enough data. At least we didn't have enough data
Yeah.
electronically. Then Google came along and started digitizing everything we had in the world. But then social media came along, and that's when it really took off. And I would say, do you use social media? Do you like? Do you write? Do you
Uh,
like? Do you interact? Because if you have, then you have helped create AI, and so are you? You're part of the creation, so you should reap the benefits of it. I mean, and then that really then takes the conversation into a way that it brings humanity to it. And then we talk about what an LLM is, which I have like the most this really cool analogy that I came up with. I was doing a presentation at USC, University of Southern California, where I went for undergraduate earlier this year. And I was sitting in the lawn in front of the Haney Library, which is USC's premier central library. It's just most incredibly beautiful building. And when you go inside, more beautiful. But you step in there, I mean, these doors are larger than life once you get them open. And they, it's just, you stand there, you're like, whoa, that's what a large language model is. You go into this library and there's just all these books, and you're like, whoa. And then you say, well, I only need to learn about the history of Miami. So I'm going to go try and find the history of Miami. So I'm walking around and I wander around the library for about 15 minutes because do I know the Dewey Decimal System of how the library is organized? No, I don't. So, so then I go back up to the front and I go and I ask the librarian. And a librarian is your function specific AI agent. The librarian is trained on different disciplines and different sectors, and the librarian that knows about probably not Miami, they're probably not trained on Miami, but the southern US would say, oh, let me take you over here and let me explain how this is organized. And then, boom, you have the information from Miami and you're good to go. That's how AI works. And people are like, oh, that's pretty cool. Then I say, who's been in a relationship for longer than 10 years? And people are like, what? And I was like, because if you've known somebody for more than 10 years and you've known them pretty intimately, and if you've been married for that with them, you can pretty much finish their sentences when they start talking
Yep.
because you know them. That's what AI does. It predicts. It does a predictive analytics about how likely are you. This is the next logical response, and just like your partner or your spouse, like if somebody said to you, "Hey, let's do XYZ," and you'll be like, "Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that," because I don't even have to go ask them because I know they're gonna like be a hard pass on that.
Yeah.
And that's what
This
the
is
yeah.
I've been trying to break that down to my audience too. Is humans are essentially LLMs with emotions and a little bit more creative capacity.
Exactly. And so when you understand all of that, then it's not scary. It's just it's just an algorithm that's been configured and trained to behave like a human being, except that it has billions of more times data than a human can consume, and it's been trained on all this data. So while at our best we might be able to maintain like 15 different thoughts at once, like 15 different points. If you were talking to like the smartest people on this planet, you can pepper them with 15 data points and they can maintain those 15 data points and keep a conversation going and tell you and see how they all connect. Average person, 3 data points. That's why AI is so fascinating because you're like, whoa, this person can maintain 15 data points. How did they do that? So that's why people are smart, and you're like, oh, this smart person is fascinating, providing they have the appropriate IQ. I'm sorry, EQ. Um, you're like, yeah, I want to hang out with this person. But now the computer does that. But it can have multiple data points. I think there is a limit because I've seen where when you ask the AI to do too many things at once, it will either just do one of the tasks or just do none of them
No.
or just do like some crazy. So you have to break them down. And that's where I think the agentic AI starts to make sense, but not automatic agentic AI. So where you configure a series of AI agents to do a task, right? So like an example is when I'm writing my blogs, um, I have my marketing AI agent, which I call Marketing Buddy. I have Marketing Buddy write the blogs for me, but then I give it to Editor Buddy and I say, "Can you revise this and tell me what you did?" And Editor Buddy would be like, "Well, there are some data points some facts that were incorrect. There's a little bit more hyperbole that was needed, and then this is the thing." And then I was like, "Okay." And like what Editor Buddy's done, or I'd be like, "No, Editor Buddy, like, eh." And then I give it to Social Media Buddy and I say, "Write some social media posts to introduce this." When you try and put all of that functionality into one AI agent, it just goes sideways.
Um, I've been reading a lot lately on agentic clusters. Right now, one of my best models that I think is the best model so far is called the Final Business Model by Drake Atlas Wolf. Um, he kind of sums it up into circular workspaces in terms of domain knowledge, and that each domain has access to two other domains in order to understand its context. So it can go out and talk to let's say the uh, the marketing layer and say, hey, like, what did you try to do here to get these data points? Your editor is asking the marketing layer, and then it goes back to your like knowledge layer that says, "Hey, these are the points that are actually real out of this." It's an interesting model because it works in essentially like how humans do.
Yeah.
Um, let's move into a little bit more into the future.
Okay.
What are 5 human skills that people will be successful with in the future?
Okay, so 5 human skills.
That just won't be replaced. That people can guarantee that's gonna go on.
Resiliency. You need to be resilient. You need to be creative and resourceful, and then to do problem solving and critical thinking. So I tell young people, if you think that it's cool to use an AI, use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude to do all your schoolwork, and you just copy and paste, um, then then you're cheating yourself, and that's not a good place to be. That the way to use these agents is to be copy paste edit, and edit is bold, underline, italics, and in like 5x the font of everything of the copy and paste. Um, the thing is creativity and resourcefulness is important because AI needs source data in order to create new things. It cannot create, oh, what is it like, 9 times after the ninth time of giving AI data to regenerate, it just produces garbage. So it means it still needs humans to start the process. So all the artistic people that are up in arms and anti AI, I'm like, you don't even know how much AI needs you. In fact, I think I've said that AI is the arts is the food of for AI.
Very fair. I just heard recently that we're going back to the Renaissance age where it's going to pay for people to be disciplined in multiple domains, and
Yes,
they're going to be inventors along with painters and musicians and poets, and there's going to be a lot more creative outcome from this than anything else because humans go back to essentially what they can do, and it is coming up with things that just make things better. Like the AI is lacking the one human trait that is creation, pure creation. Um,
absolutely.
so a lot of people, basically, I'm trying to address the concerns about like people taking like AI taking people's jobs. How would you address those concerns?
Mm. So my thing is, we've we've had these conversations so many times, right? Like I was um I was uh I was a software tester, and then I was an software automation tester. That's what I started doing. Back in 1980s, there was no such thing as automation software tester, because software automation didn't happen until the 1990s.
Yeah.
So as we look at the jobs we no longer have, are we looking at the jobs that we're now going to have?
Not at all. We
So
don't even know what they're going to be.
exactly. And so what I say to people is AI requires that you learn how to think. That's a skill that's a little lacking these days, but we need to learn how to think. AI requires that we learn how to learn. Another thing that we are lacking of with this these days. Do we know how to learn? I mean, do you know how to learn? Do you know how to go about and look at something and understand and discern whether or not it's true or not? Can you do that?
Yeah, but I just like to learn.
Exactly. Do you have intellectual curiosity? Because if you
Yeah.
don't have intellectual curiosity, then you are going to be out of luck. Because just like how the calculator makes it easier for you to um, do mathematical computation. AI will be make it easier for you to formulate your thoughts in whatever format is so desired. But what it's not going to be able to do is help you like be more creative. You're going to have to be more creative. You're going to need to figure out how to do this stuff. And so like the way I think about it is I like to go for bike rides, like 40-mile, 50-mile bike rides. And during those bike rides, I put away my phone.
Mhm.
It's just me, my bike, and the road and the traffic. Um, and in those times, problems that I've been like trying to solve, the answers come effortlessly. It's because I am in a different space. And so what AI does is it helps you be in that space more frequently. Because it's doing a lot of the tedious work that causes you to burn out, right? Like if you have to sit at a spreadsheet and look at 5,000 rows of data, your brain is done. There's no creativity coming out of that brain right now. But if the
Yeah.
AI can synthesize that 5,000 rows of data, now your brain is fresh and now it can go to town.
It's
So,
I think it's
yeah,
been coined as the state of boredom is necessary in order to keep the state of like progress.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
why
it
going
really
on vacation.
helps.
Yeah, it's why going on vacation allows you to solve problems that you can't solve when you're in the office.
I put my phone like I leave my phone everywhere half the time. Like if I go for a walk, I forget it. It's like, oh, okay. But those are the times that I come up with ideas or things like that. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention was if you do you know who the CEO of or the ex CEO of Stability, Iman Mosvik? He has a book called The Last Economy. I think you'd find interesting. Um, it's about how he's trying to build a blockchain infrastructure to support LLM compute along with um,
Hmm.
humanity based projects. So like curing cancer and LLMs dedicated to that. So it's an interesting concept. I think you would enjoy it. Um,
No, I've not heard of this person, but you're right. I mean, like,
we're getting to a state where money's going to become irrelevant. So we really need to start looking at our lives and saying how does the economy actually support people?
exactly, and it's the whole point of like when you think about your value add and your effectiveness. But just to go back for a little bit about blockchain and AI, so I like to sometimes go to Utopia. This is part of when you go for a bike ride, especially like I found that after you reach mile 25 on a bike, it's really not about any physical capacity. It's all mental. And the more you can keep your brain from complaining or receiving the signals from the rest of your body that you're an absolutely insane person and everything hurts.
Yeah.
And because if your brain gets enough of that, the brain will just say, let's just stop. So the more you can distract your brain, the better. And so then I like to go to Utopia. And I think to myself, imagine if every person in the world, they're born. Let's just start with when they're born, right? And then I'll get to retrofit in the people that already been born. So you're born, you get a blockchain. It has your birth certificate. It has the particulars about yourself, and you get a key to access it. And then you get a passport, and there's a picture of you, little baby, and you get an ID, and now you are 3 years old, and you go to preschool. And so the preschool. Um, your parents send you your blockchain information to the preschool. You're verified as who you are, and then preschool sends you whatever information that's added to your blockchain, and then you graduate from preschool and you got your little certificate, and that's added to the blockchain. And as you have more important things happening in your life, it's added to the blockchain. So no more I lost my ID, no more I lost my identification, no more because I don't have the wherewithal or I don't have enough money. I can't have access to these things.
Or showcasing my four third place medals for swimming when I was in high school, or
Your entire life is stored in the blockchain. Then you take all of that information and you turn it into your digital twin. And
that
so
looks out for you, that helps you, that guides you, that is your protector.
exactly. And then you take that digital twin information, you imprint it on a chip that can be an implantable chip, a human interactive chip. And on that chip has your life story that's pulled from the blockchain. It has your personality that, we refresh every X years. I think it's every 7 years. I think we change as humans, but don't quote me on that one. Um, and then a therapeutic intervention that helps you self regulate. And then you are able to do biometrics, pulse, heart rate, blood pressure, and brain waves. And you put that all in the chip, and the chip says, this is what your equilibrium is, this is what my equilibrium is. And as long as I'm in that equilibrium, I'm at my optimal. I'm doing things that bring out my best self. But if I go up or I go down, the chip goes, you good? Just the first thing of asking you to be good allows you to recenter, and maybe then you're good. You go back to equilibrium. Then you decide if you want the chip to do whatever intervention is necessary to bring you back to equilibrium, or if you want to be out of equilibrium, because be okay. You might want to just be mad for a little bit. I just want to sit in my anger, or let me just celebrate for a little bit because I just worked hard for this accomplishment. So give me a moment. Let me just enjoy this, right? But you're in control. So now you got blockchain and AI working together to be able to help you be the best version of yourself. When you're the best version of yourself, you have self agency, self efficacy, self compassion, self. So when you have all of those things, you love yourself more. If you love yourself more, you're less likely to engage in any kind of isms or phobias that marginalize and punch down on other people that are not like you.
Yeah.
And if we stop, we're not going to stop, but just reduce the amount of people that engage in that behavior, what would our world look like?
It's also interesting because that leads to like the altered carbon situation where we now have chips in our brain that we can implant into other bodies and become different people entirely. So we're just wrapping up for the end of the show. Do you want to give any messages to the audience, or plug anything that you have coming up, or anywhere that people can reach you?
Yeah, I mean, we're beta testing digital the recruiter buddy. So you just go to our website. There's a pop up. Click on test now, and what it does is the recruiter buddy comes up. It asks you a few questions. Give us feedback, and if you do provide us with feedback, you enter to win either a $50 gift card wherever you want it from. We'll get it for you, or we'll donate $100 to a charity of your choice, as long as the charity has a 501c designation or equivalent if it's not in the U.S. We'll donate to it.
And I'll make sure all the links are down in the description below.
Absolutely.
I just have one last question.
Mhm.
Just to follow up, I'm trying to figure out what I can ask my audience that makes this show kind of uniquely mine. And I think I've come up with a kind of a question
Mhm.
that I think kind of goes along with it. What makes you, what's a weird trait that you don't think that empowers you, but you don't think people could replicate?
I'm a contrarian. Um, we're so taught to fit in that we don't know how to be, how not to be, how to be a contrarian. But unless you're a contrarian, you can't see what's possible.
Very fair. And you definitely speak to a lot of people nowadays. I think contrarianism is starting to come back. Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, so like I'm basically like somebody's telling me about the problems with recruiting, and and the natural thing would be to just build a better recruitment solution, right? A better keyword match or a better resume evaluation. I was like, no, like what would I want? I would want to be able to be interviewed by somebody in a like low stake kind of way, right?
Yep.
To just vet and see, is this even worth my time? And now I can do that.
And it's the basis for a company that's very successful.
Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, and to my audience out there, stay weird.
Stay weird. I love it.